Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 2 of the Army Nerd. Today we're going to be talking about Warhammer 40,000 and running narrative campaigns, specifically with the Crusade system that came out in 9th edition. So first we'll start off with why play narrative. A lot of people come into the hobby, they're competitive, they want to play to win. And narrative is one of those types of play that might not appeal to everybody. I used to be like that. But there's a couple of benefits when you do narrative play. One, it feels more like an army when you're playing with a narrative force, right? You're not going to get those parking lots of vehicles with a captain babysitting them to give them reroll ones, which, well, thankfully not anymore because of the core changes, but that used to be a big thing, or an army of all flyers, or whatever the case might be. And you're not as penalized for taking, not optimized lists. Everyone kind of understands that you're there to tell a story, to get immersed into the setting, and so the suboptimal lists perform better, and it can be more fun, right? Second, it provides more of an immersive experience when you actually have like buy-in into your characters and the soldiers that you got out there on the field. It really just feels you're more connected to them, right? When that sergeant kills a demon prince with his last attack, when that guy's got a name and you've been following his progress throughout an entire story, it's a little more meaningful than if it was just a random game and it happened. And finally, I think it provides some opportunities for fun in some unexpected ways. We've all been, if you played a couple of games, 40K, we've all been in a position where you're just getting crushed, and it can be pretty it can be a pretty sad time. But with Crusade, some of the agendas can make it so even if you're losing, you can feel like you're winning. And I'll give a perfect example. I had a game the other day, and I took the Space Marine specific agenda. I think it's No Fear. And every time my Space Marine unit passes a morale test, they gain 2 experience points. So I was actually hoping to lose unit. I was like, yeah, I hope this vehicle explosion kills 1 or 2 Marines off, and then they're going to pass their morale test, and I'm going to get 2 experience, right? So it gives the games longevity, and you can see beyond just that game that you're playing right now and have fun in the experiences that you're going to come later on. So there's a lot of reasons to play narrative, right? Then there's like a narrative game versus a narrative campaign. I think a narrative game, it could be fun. It could whether you're recreating a battle or you're telling a specific story, or whatever the case might be, it can be a lot of fun. I'm more interested in narrative campaigns. I want to see the story progress and go along as my force matures, as we continue to get different games on, and crazy things in game happen, and then that story can continue to go forward. And that's really, I think, where the difference is. Where if you're doing like just a one narrative game, it's like a one shot. Whereas the campaign, it's more immersive, it's more going along with the story. And I'll say Crusade is really good for this. If you've ever tried to run a narrative campaign, it can be very difficult. Whether you're trying to do the barest, easiest type of campaign, or if you're trying to do something crazy like a map campaign with all kinds of reward systems and things like that, it can be difficult. And Crusade really gives you a balance of putting the onus of responsibility on the players. Well, and while the experience can be enhanced by having either a game master or a campaign organizer, you really don't need it. And I'll talk about that at the end. I'll share my experience organizing some Crusade games and narrative campaigns that I've run. But let's get straight into 9th edition Crusade, right? So first thing you want to do, Crusade came out when 9th edition hit. And it was just a new way to play narrative. Before this, I think narrative play wasn't super defined. It had its rules, but really I enjoy that now it's kind of its own standalone thing, and it has like very specific rules, and it's a lot of fun. So first thing is you choose a Crusade faction, and all the units in your Crusade force need to have the same Crusade keyword or Crusade faction keyword. And the factions right now are Imperium, Chaos Eldari, Tyranids, Orcs, Necrons, and Tau Empire. Now that's not the. I mean, it's narrative, right? So it's not to say you can't do whatever you want. Like I'll personally, in my Crusade campaign, I have a Space Marine force and a Harlequins force, and they join together to fight, chaos. Now, obviously, they don't have the same, faction keywords or whatever, but nobody cares. As long as your gaming group is good with it, you can really do whatever you want. And I've even modeled some of the Eldari symbols and iconography onto the Space Marine vehicles, so they can do near far recognition, and they don't accidentally kill their allies. So that's the first thing you do. Next, you're gonna have to go into create your order of battle. Your order of battle is really all of the lists of units, the pool of units that you have to play your game with, and it's not what you're gonna take every single game, but it's what you have kind of like on the shelf, and then you pick and match out of that for each game. And there's a couple rules, right? So for order battle, at the beginning of your Crusade campaign, it can't be above 50 power level. Crusade uses power level. A lot of people aren't a fan of power level. I used to not be a fan of it until I started really getting a couple games in, and it can be abused, but overall it works pretty well. And it's very easy also to just supplement. 5 power level is 100 points, so you can go back and forth. Nothing's stopping you from playing points or power level. It's really up to you. Once you add units to your battle order of battle, they cannot be changed. So that includes their weapon loadouts, their the size of the unit. All of those things require what's called requisition points, and we'll get into that later. But you use requisition points to kind of change what's in your army, and this it sounds limiting, but it gives you a challenge, right? And it forces you to play some things where you're not just changing from game to game based on what your opponents bring in or whatever whatever the case might be, right? Like you got what you got, and you're gonna have to work for either increasing the size of your squads, changing out the loadouts. You have to pay points to get that new Thunder Hammer on your sergeant or whatever the case might be. And all of this gets recorded on. There's an actual paper order of battle document in the core rulebook. I believe it's on page 328, and then the individual unit Crusade cards are on 329. And this is just a template. It's decent. I have modified and made my own order of battle and Crusade templates. Just something that I found it worked better from game to game, and helped to keep track of the units, the force, and all of that. And I'll make those available at the end. I'm gonna post the rules from the campaign that I ran. And the modifications, we'll talk about that, as well as all the documents, supporting documentation, all that. And I'll post it to the Google Drive, and there'll be a link in the description below, so you guys can check all that stuff out if you're interested in just, my variation of how we did this. Okay, so you got your order of battle built out, and then each of your units is going to have what's called a Crusade card. And the Crusade card is going to capture a lot of the basic information that you're going to need to know about your unit. For example, it's going to have the unit name, their battlefield role, their power level, their experience, and a couple things that you're going to want to keep track of is kill tallies, mark for greatness tallies, and we'll discuss those things further on. And what's really important is battle honors and battle scars. There's a template, like I said, in the core rulebook. The one that I use, I'm just going to pull that up real quick. The one that I have, I got, the name, how many battles they've been in, power rating, and points cost, because sometimes I want to go back and forth between the two. It gives you their rank, so you can track as they level up. Their experience points, how many Crusade points they're worth, that's important for later on. And then battle honors, battle scars, and I put 2 spots for warlord traits and relics, just to keep those separated in case it's a character. And then on the bottom I have combat tallies and agenda tallies, because you're going to have these agendas throughout the games. They're kind of like secondary objectives, and sometimes you got to track them by the unit, and so it's helpful to have a place to keep that noted down. And then at the bottom for the experience calculation, so you get 1 experience for each battle that the unit has been in, and whether they survive or die, doesn't matter. Then you get 1 experience for every 3 units killed collectively. So each time the unit kills a unit, then you would give them a tally on the deal. It's called Dealers of Death, and then for every 3 tally on that, you'd get another experience. And so that's why you want to keep track of your tallies. And then at the end of each battle, you can mark a unit for greatness, and this just means like your MVP of the game. There's no restriction on who you choose. I typically try to pick someone who thematically did something important in that battle. And if nobody stands out, then you probably pick somebody who's close to leveling up just to get them over the edge. But Each mark for greatness gets you 3 experience points. And then there's a place for you get experience through agendas, and some missions I think will also give you extra experience. That's pretty much it for the combat or the Crusade cards for the units. All right, moving on. Then we're gonna move into requisition. And so once you've created your order of battle, you also get 5 starting requisition points. And requisitions are important. There's actually a couple of restrictions that are kind of important to know about. So first, you can't use any upgrades or stratagems that would upgrade units unless you buy a requisition for it, right? So any of those pre-game stratagems that would, give a perfect example, giving characters extra warlord traits, giving characters extra relics, you can't use those unless you have used the requisition and purchased it through that. So it's already recorded in your order of battle. So you can't show up to a game and then choose to purchase it beforehand, and then later on choose not to, right? The whole point is to keep consistency in the army. And this also means that your warlord of your faction does not automatically get a free warlord trait and free relic. So you actually have to purchase those as well. Okay, so let's go into the actual requisitions themselves, the actual things that you can spend those requisition points to purchase. So the first one is increase supply limit, 1 requisition point. Purchase this requisition at any time, increase your Crusade Force supply limit by 5 power. So it's just a way to, obviously you're starting at 50 power level, that's about 1,000 points. So to get to a full 2,000 point game, you're going to have to increase the supply limit of your Crusade Force. And that's just, you're going to get requisition points through games, through certain agendas, through certain, winning scenarios. Next requisition is fresh recruits. Purchase this requisition at any time. Select 1 unit from your order of battle that has a Crusade card. You cannot choose a unit that has achieved a battle hardened or heroic or legendary rank. So as your units level up, they get new ranks. And so this can only be used on somebody who is at most blooded, which is the first level. But add any number of additional models to this unit and increase its power rating accordingly. So obviously this is, if you got like a 5-man intercessor squad and you want to bump it up to a 10-man, this is how you would do that. Next, rearm and resupply. This one is basically allowing you to change the war gear, right? So if you got a intercessor sergeant with a chainsword and you've been playing a bunch of games in your Crusade campaign, you're like, hey, you know what? I'd really rather have him have a Thunderhammer or a Power Fist, or you want to change out the squad's loadout from, regular bolt rifles to stalker bolt rifles, or the assault variant. You would use this requisition. Next one is repair and recuperate. This is an important one. This one gets used all the time. Purchase this requisition either before or after a battle. Select 1 Crusade card from your order of battle that has 1 or more battle scars, and we'll talk more about battle scars. But essentially, battle scars are negative effects that kind of follow your unit after they've been wounded or destroyed in battle. So select one of the unit's battle scars and remove it from the Crusade card. So this is essentially healing either a really negative battle scar that you don't want on a unit or a vehicle or whatever the case might be. Next is psychic meditations for 1 requisition point. This just lets you change the psychic powers that your psychers know. So, like we said before, you add your unit to the order of battle. It kind of stays as it is, and that includes the psychic powers that it knows. So here you go, 1 requisition point, you can change that out. Next one is specialist reinforcements. This requisition lets you upgrade a unit to by using a stratagem that's available in your book. The old Space Marine Codex used to have, for example, a veterans intercessor stratagem would turn your veteran squad or intercessor squad into a veteran squad. I know with Harlequins, I've used this for pivotal roles, things like that. So any kind of stratagems that you might have that would give your unit kind of a buff, this is something that can be used for that. The next one is Warlord trait. Essentially, you spend a requisition point, you can give a character a Warlord trait. Doesn't need to be your Warlord. Pretty basic one. Next, you got Relic. That's the next one. That's one, same thing, right? You're just giving a character a Relic, and that's it. So really, these requisitions are how you build your force outside of games. Pre-game or in between games. you can use the specialist reinforcements to great effect, giving out warlord traits with the warlord trait and the relic one, and then the rest are kind of just changing the force construction that you have and getting rid of battle scars. All right, moving on. Next, we got ranks and battle honors. So as units level up and they gain experience points, they're going to progress through the ranks. And the ranks are, the first is battle ready, is basically just fresh new recruit. Doesn't have any experience, so 0 to 5 experience points, and it has 0 battle honors. The next is blooded, and that's between 6 and 15 experience points, and they get 1 battle honor. Then you have battle hardened at 16 to 30 experience points, heroic at 31 to 50, and then legendary is 51 plus. And so when you level up each time, you gain access to one of these battle honors. And there are 4 types of battle honors. So one is a battle trait, and those are just new skills and abilities. And we'll go into the table and look at each one individually. Then you have weapon enhancements, psychic fortitudes, and then Crusade relics, which are a rare, powerful artifact that you can use and equip it onto a character. And then of note is that the Crusade points for each unit are going to increase by 1 if they have a power rating of 10 or below, or by 2 if they have a power rating of 11 or more. And this is just how the Crusade system balances an experienced army with lots of battle honors and high level units against a brand new Crusade army. And after playing quite a few games with it, I have to say it's decently well balanced. So the way it works is, before you start a Crusade game, you would tally up the Crusade points of both forces, and the person with the lower Crusade total would get half the difference rounded up in command points, right? So let's say, for example, I have a very experienced Crusade army. They have 10 Crusade points through various battle honors and Crusade relics and various things. They have this level of Crusade points. And my opponent has brand new Crusade force. He used some requisition points to give his warlord, a warlord trait and a relic, and gave the other character a relic. And now they have 3 Crusade points in their whole army. So then the difference, 10 minus 3 is 7, and then you take half of that, so 3.5, and then you round it up. So my opponent would get 4 extra command points to start the game with, which can swing a game, right? So it's a decent way to balance it out, and I found it works pretty well. Okay, so battle traits. There are 4 battle trait tables. 1 for characters, 1 for monsters, 1 for vehicles, and another for any other unit. So in the character, the first battle trait is Swift and Agile. Add 1 to this unit's move characteristic. In addition, add 1 to advance and charge rolls made for this unit. This is such a powerful battle trait, especially on a fighty character, giving him +1 move, and then on top of that, +1 advance and +1 charge. And if you got a unit that can advance and charge, you're getting +3 inches to everything. So it's really powerful, really good for fighty armies. The second one is Heroic Constitution. Add 1 to the wounds characteristic of 1 character model in this unit. Yeah, it's good. It's not anything special, but it's good. Third one, Resilient. Roll 1d6 each time a character model in this unit would lose a wound on a 6-up. That wound is not lost. Yeah, hey, I've had a feel no pain on a company champion, and it saved him. So it's useful when it's useful. Number 4, Deadly Charge. Add 1 of the attack characteristic of character models in this unit in the fight phase if this unit made a charge move, was charged, or performed heroic intervention this turn. And this stack, it doesn't say it doesn't stack, so it stacks with Shock Assault. And so if you get Swift and Agile and Deadly Charge on, a company champion or a Smash Chaplain, you're getting a very reliable charging unit with an absurd number of attacks, and it's really powerful. Number 5, Inspiring Hero. Add 1 to the leadership characteristic of friendly units while they're within 6 inches of a character model from this unit. In addition, this unit can perform heroic interventions if after the enemy has made all its charge moves, it is within 6 inches of enemy units, and it can move up to 6 inches when doing so. So, +1 leadership, yeah, whatever, take it or leave it. But the 6-inch heroic intervention is a big deal, especially with how important objectives are. And if you got a character standing on objective, right, if they want to get within range, of holding that objective. They're going to be within 3 inches. They're within your heroic intervention. But having 6-inch heroic intervention catches a lot of people off guard, and it can be really strong. The sixth one is tactical experience. While a character model from this unit is on the battlefield, roll 1d6 each time you spend a command point. To use a stratagem on a 6, you immediately regain 1 command point. Yeah, not bad. In Crusade games, a lot of times you'll have more command points than in a regular game, just because of the way the Crusade points work out. So you have a decent chance of getting some CP back, and CP important. Just looking at the character tree, there's some obvious winners, right? I think for me, Swift and Agile just takes it, right? It's so good. And for that reason, one of the things that we chose to do in our Crusade games was roll, right? You didn't get to choose, or else everybody would have Swift and Agile characters running around. You had to roll on the table, and we would film it and send it out to our group chat so that everybody could see and like either cheer or cry for you when you got a result that you obviously didn't want. And we would make exceptions, back when Death Guard still had the 5-up feel no pain for discussing the resilient. Obviously, you don't want a Death Guard character getting the resilient. They don't stack, so we would just make that null, and you would just re-roll results of 3. So that was a solution that worked for us. It made the game more interesting, more varied, and I'd recommend that. All right, so let's move on to the vehicle chart. Vehicle units. 1. Enhanced engines. Add 2 inches to this unit's move characteristic. In addition, add 1 to advance and charge rolls made for this unit. Yeah, not bad. Extra 2 inches to move. Generally, vehicles, right? They're either shooty or they're transports. So getting that extra move to get it within range, or get behind a piece of line of sight blocking terrain, or whatever it is you need, it's not bad. Number 2, Elite Crew. Reroll hit rolls of 1 when resolving attacks made by vehicle models in this unit. Super good. Especially now with the changes to core, not a lot of vehicles have the core keyword. And so getting those rerolls where they generally don't get them anywhere. Really big. So this is a super good one. Number 3, improved shielding. Add 1 to saving throws made for vehicle models in this unit against attacks that have an armor penetration characteristic of 0 or -1. Invulnerable saving throws are unaffected. Yeah, pretty much, it's not bad. Armor Bane, number 4. Reroll wound rolls of 1 when resolving attacks made by a vehicle model in this unit that target enemy vehicle or monster units. Yeah, it's a shittier reroll 1s to wound. It's only against vehicle or monsters. It's situationally good. It's not the best. You'd still just take Elite Crew if you could, right? Number 5, repair systems. Vehicle models in this unit regain 1 lost wound at the start of each of your command phases. It's pretty good. Getting an extra wound can be clutch, especially if it pushes you into your next bracket. And number 6, Blessed Hole. Roll a d6 each time a mortal wound is allocated to a vehicle model in this unit. On a 5-up, that mortal wound is ignored. Yeah, no, I really like this. This is a really good one. Pretty much permanent Armor of Contempt. In the matches where this matters, it's going to matter a lot. So, Grey Knights, Thousand Suns, any psychic heavy army that's just throwing out tons of mortal wounds, you're saving yourself that command point of an Armor of Contempt. So it's great. Again, this is kind of a trend. You can see like clear winners and losers, right? Elite Crew, obviously rerolling all 1s to hit is great. And that's why, again, we chose to roll dice and see what you got. It just made it more interesting. All right, monster units. Number 1, Unstoppable. Add 2 inches to this unit's move characteristic. In addition, add 1 to advance and charge rolls made for the unit. Pretty much the same as the vehicle one. Number 2, Apex Predator. Reroll hit rolls of 1 when resolving attacks made by monster models in this unit. So again, rerolling 1s to hit. Very good. Number 3, Thickened Hide. Add 1 to saving throws made for monster models. Okay, so this is exactly the same as the vehicle table. Let me just make sure it's not. Okay, so here's a different one. Number 4, Frenzied. Add 1 to attacks characteristic of monster models in this unit in the fight phase if this unit made a charge move, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention this turn. Good. It's super good. Depending on the type of monster. You got a Demon Prince that needs some extra attacks, or some of the big, like a Democaron, or some of the other Tyranid monsters, or even just Carnifexes. Getting extra attacks on them, super important. I think countereffects should be monsters. Yeah. All right, number 5 regenerates monster models in this unit gain 1 lost wound at the start of each of your command phases. Same as vehicle, can be good. This would be good if you stacked it with the Tyrannid custom Hive Fleet adaptation, where they would already gain 1, like monster models gain 1 wound at the beginning of their turn. So now at the beginning of your turn, each monster model is getting 2 wounds back. That can be powerful. Obviously, you need to get this battle trait on them, but it could stack. Could be good. Number 6, terrifying. Roll 2 dice when making a morale test for an enemy unit within 6 inches of this unit, and discard the lowest result. Yeah, I don't love it. Typically, if you have a big monster and it gets into combat with something, you want that thing to be dead already. It could be good if it helps, get that last remaining intercessor or whatever to fail their morale test and run. Situationally good, I guess. Not the best. Still, really here I like a lot. Add 1 to the attacks characteristic, frenzy. That's great. Even unstoppable. Extra movement is always. This is such a movement-based game now that whenever you can get extra movement, you take it. All right, any other unit. So this is going to be the final table for most of your, baseline infantry squads or whatever. Basically anything that's not an infantry or not a character, vehicle, or monster, right? So number 1, fleet of foot. Add 1 inch to the unit's move characteristic. In addition, add 1 to advance and charge rolls made for this unit. Yeah, that's good. Number 2, veteran warriors. Reroll hit rolls of 1 when resolving attacks made by models in this unit. Yeah, obviously this is the one you want, right? Rerolling ones to hit, having a captain aura across all your units that have this battle trait gives you a lot of flexibility, right? You don't have to keep yourself in these reroll bubbles when they just have it themselves. Number 3, grizzled. Roll a d6 each time a model in this unit would lose a wound. On a 6, that wound is not lost. Yeah, it's not bad. 6 to feel no pain. Can't complain. Number 4, headhunters. Add 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls made when resolving attacks with this model in this unit that target enemy character units. This is really good. You're pretty much getting the Raven Guard super doctrine all the time. Yeah, it's too bad that they don't stack hit rolls and wound roll modifiers don't stack anymore. Because if you had a Raven Guard unit, a sniper unit, getting +2 to hit, +2 to wound, it could be a big deal. This is a really good one. Obviously, it's only working against characters, but against certain matchups, this is going to be very powerful. All right, number 5, cool-headed. You can reroll failed morale tests taken for this unit. In addition, if a unit declares this unit as a target of their charge, this unit can fire Overwatch and will score hits on unmodified rolls of 5 instead of 6 when doing so. This is super good ability. Rerolling failed morale tests, there's no other way to do it. Space Marines lost that. You can't use the command point reroll to do it. So just innately being able to reroll failed morale tests, when it matters, it can matter a lot. And just being able to Overwatch on 5 up all the time, not spend a command point, it's great. It depending on the type of unit you get, this can be super scary. Yeah, I'm just thinking about aggressors with the bolter gauntlets. They're just putting out an insane amount of shots and hitting on 5s, and just always knowing that that's a threat there. Really good. All right, number 6, battle tested. This unit has the objective secured ability and can make attacks with ranged weapons while performing an action without that action failing. Combat attrition tests taken for this unit are automatically passed while it is within range of an objective marker. Pretty good. It's an objective-based game. The only problem is if you're playing a lot of the Crusade missions, they don't always have objectives. A lot of them do, but some of them don't. And so this is kind of wasted if you're playing a mission that doesn't have objectives on it, right? But overall, pretty good. Really, I'm most impressed by the any other unit table. I think it has the most options that are attractive. Really, when you're looking at like the vehicle unit table, there's a lot of things in there that I don't want, or I don't really care so much about. But the any other unit table, I think, is a real winner here. It's giving you a lot of choices. And feel free to modify these tables too. We discussed it in my gaming group. We ended up keeping the battle traits tables, but we modified the battle scar tables, and we'll get into that when we get there. But if your group's cool with it, and you want to either standardize it so that they're all the same, like one table, or you want to increase it, hey, do what you want. It's your game. Okay, next we have next battle honor is weapon enhancements. Weapon enhancements can be a little confusing, but we're gonna work through. So essentially, you have two tables. You have a ranged weapon table and a melee weapon table. And if you select a unit that's Titanic, so Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights, then you roll 1d3 and consult the table. So you can only get the first 3 options on the table, whether it's ranged or melee. If it's a unit, if the unit is a character, a vehicle, or a monster and is not Titanic, you roll 1d6. So essentially, you're gonna pick one of their weapons and get one characteristic from one of these tables, right? If it's any other unit, right, you pick a unit, you pick one model, and if there's a unit champion like the sergeant or whatever it might be, it has to be that model. You then pick one of its weapons, and you roll a d6 and a d3, and you get both of those traits. If the weapon has 2 profiles, like a combi bolter, like a combi flamer, then both those profiles get the benefits. And if the weapon has a melee and a ranged profile, you can only choose melee weapon enhancements, but the melee and the shooting get both of those traits. It sounds a little confusing, so let's do a Flamestorm Aggressor Sergeant, right? His Flamestorm gauntlets have a melee and a shooting profile. So if you choose his gauntlet, you can only do a melee weapon enhancement, but the melee weapon enhancements will apply to the ranged attack from his gauntlets as well. So let's go over the table. We'll start with the ranged weapons. Number 1, Auto Loader. When resolving an attack with this weapon, each unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit on the target. Exploding 6s. It's great. Number 2, Armor Piercing. Improve the weapon's armor penetration characteristic by 1. So yeah, it's not bad. Getting extra AP. It depends on the army and what weapon you're shooting with, right? Getting a Melta from AP4 to AP5, probably not the biggest deal in the world. Intercessor bolt rifles going AP1 to AP2, AP3 in the Tactical Doctrine. That can be pretty good. Number 3, High Caliber. Add 1 to the weapon's strength characteristic. This is really good. Yeah, +1 strength on your weapon. A lot of times it's going to equate to +1 to wound, essentially. Especially, I'm thinking, bolt rifles against Death Guard. Now you're going from strength 4 to 5, wounding on 4s instead of wounding on 5s. It's a big deal. The only negative thing, and I'll say it right now, is that this only goes on one unit or one model in the unit, which can feel bad. With tactical Marines, I guess you could put it on the heavy. Well, you can't even put it on the heavy weapon because it has to be on the sergeant. That's right. Yeah, it's tough. It's not great. So I'll tell you what we did in my game before, and we'll go back to get into the tables. But in my campaign, what we decided was you could pick the way the rules are, right? You could pick one unit or one model in the unit, and it had to be the sergeant, and he can get both or 2 weapon enhancements on the one weapon. Or we just decided that if you wanted to just pick one of the enhancements, you could give it to the entire squad. And what that did was, like the fire warrior leader didn't have to shoot separate from the rest of the fire warriors in the squad. It just made it easier to play through it instead of having all these separate roles because the leader has +1 to hit or the leader has +1 AP. It would have been more painful to do that. We just said, you know what, we're going to give it blanket to the entire unit. And as long as units didn't get more than 1 weapon enhancement, it really wasn't all that game breaking, right? Obviously, if you can give, +1 to hit and +1 strength and exploding 6s on, a squad of, eradicators or something, right? It could be busted. But the way we worked it out, each unit really only got 1 weapon enhancement. Sometimes they'd get 2, very rarely. It kind of worked out for us. So I recommend it. I thought it was good. It was a good little change. It sped up the gameplay, and it was cool to have a unit of fire warriors that could shoot on and hit on 3s, right? Like Tau probably should be able to. But anyway, so let's go back to the range table. Enough of that tangent. Number 4, improve sights. When resolving an attack with this weapon, add 1 to the hit roll. So +1 to hit, it's good. Especially for heavy weapons, right? Heavy weapons having to move and ignoring that, you're counterbalancing those negatives to hit. Number 5, accelerator. Increase the weapon's range characteristic by 6 inches. If the weapon has a minimum range characteristic, this remains unchanged. It can be really good on certain weapons. I'm thinking 18-inch flamers. Can be very powerful. Number 6, master worked. Add 1 to the weapon's damage characteristic. Yeah, this is great. Absolutely great. And yeah, it's good. So those are the weapon enhancements for ranged weapons. So now melee weapons. Number 1 is heirloom. When resolving an attack with this weapon, each unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. The same as autoloader. Number 2, razor edge. Improve the weapon's AP by 1. Yep, same as armor piercing. Number 3, brutal. Add 1 to the weapon's strength characteristic. Same as high caliber. Yep. Number 4, finely balanced. When resolving an attack with this weapon, add 1 to the hit roll. Alright, same as improved sight. So these are all exactly the same. Alright, here's the difference. Shredder, number 5. When resolving an attack with this weapon, an unmodified wound roll of 4 is always successful, irrespective of the target's toughness characteristic. Could be good. Always wounding on 4s with a thunder hammer. See, that's the thing. When you're putting this, it's a melee weapon enhancement, so you're putting it on the sergeant or the leader, and you're probably putting it on them because they have a good weapon, right? So a good weapon's already going to have good strength. So yeah, I'm not loving it. It's okay. Yeah, no, like a power fist is going to have 8 strength. You're already wounding anything on at least a 4. So yeah, no. I thought it'd be cool. It could be cool on a power sword, I guess, or some kind of similar profiled weapon. Harlequins. Yeah, some Harlequin weapons. Pretty low. Harlequins rely a lot on those rerolls to wound, so they're usually pretty low strength. So I could see that coming into play. But yeah, not the best. All right, number 6, Fleshbane. Add 1 to the weapon's damage characteristic. So the melee weapons is exactly the same as the ranged weapons. The only difference being number 5, where the ranged weapons get increases to range, and the melee weapons get a always wounding on 4s. It's pretty good. It seems powerful, but when you realize that, especially if you roll on the tables, it makes it a lot more balanced, because if you don't roll, then everyone's just going to pick +1 to hit or +1 damage, depending on the type of weapon they got and what unit they're putting it on. So definitely rolling makes it a lot more interesting. Okay, Psychic Fortitude. So these are a battle honor that can only be given to Psychers. It's a D3 table. So number 1 is Psychic Might. Add 1 to the number of psychic powers this unit can attempt to manifest in your psychic phase. This is really good. Typically these psychers are going to know more powers than they can cast, and it's always a choice on, where are you in the battle to which power you're going to choose to cast. So having the ability to cast another one is really good. Alright, next, Adamantium Will. Add 1 to the number of psychic powers this unit can attempt to deny in your opponent's psychic phase. Yeah, +1 deny the wit. It's not as good as Psychic Might, but it's useful, having an extra deny, especially in certain matchups. Number 3, Master of Lore. Add 1 to the number of psychic powers this unit knows from one of the disciplines available to them. Write down this new power on the unit's Crusade card. Yeah, overall, all 3 of them are good. I would say Psychic Might is probably the strongest, but really, followed by Master of Lore, and then Adamantium Will coming at the end. But they're all really good. They're all increasing the flexibility that you have on the battlefield with these units, and just upping your efficiency. So, all right, next we're on to Crusade Relics. These are actually super interesting. So Crusade Relics can only be given to character models. A character model can have any number of Crusade Relics, but the same Crusade Relic cannot be included in your order of battle more than once. Okay, and character model can have Crusade Relics even if they have other relics, like from your codex. All right, that's good. The relics are broken up into different categories of relics, and only certain level characters can take them. So we'll start with the most basic category is Artificer Relics. Any character model can be given an Artificer Relic. The first one is Artificer Weapon. Select one weapon that the model is equipped with, excluding relics. Right, so you can't Artificer a relic that you already have.
Each unmodified hit roll of 6 made for an attack with that weapon inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to the normal damage. Note that this is not cumulative with any other mortal wounds inflicted by the weapon. Yeah, mortal wounds on 6s. It depends on how many attacks you're getting with that character, if it's really going to be worth it. I think there's some other ones that I'd rather have, but it's not bad. Next, Mastercrafted Armor. This model save characteristic is improved by 1. In addition, roll 1d6. Each time this character suffers a mortal wound. On a 6, that mortal wound is ignored. This is really good. So having a 6 of Feel No Pain and a +1 to your armor save, especially if you have like a Terminator character that's already rocking a 2-up save. Now you got a 1-up save. Characters with storm shields, you're getting +2 to your save. And then on top of that, you can put them in cover and you're getting +3 to your save. Really good. I really like this one. Next is Laurels of Victory. If this model is included in your army list for a battle, you receive 2 bonus command points to use in that battle. However, if this model is destroyed during the battle, you immediately lose 2 command points. This can be really strong depending on which character gets it. You don't want your smashed chaplain running out there going to have this and then lose you 2 command points. Unless by the time he dies, you already have 0 command points and then you don't really care. But if you have it on a good support character that's going to be in the back of the battle, pretty much guaranteed to survive, it could be really strong. All right, next, Conversion Field. Infantry only. This model has a 4-up invulnerable save. In addition, each time you roll an unmodified 6 when making a saving throw for this model, the closest enemy unit within 1 inch suffers 1 mortal wound. Most of your infantry characters are already going to have an invulnerable save. Well, I guess that's not true. If you're looking at lieutenants, librarians, okay, so I don't know. The models that you do want to have in close, so they would even benefit from the mortal wound part of this, would already have an invulnerable save, so it's not bad. It's 4-up invuln, situational. Next, Artisan Bionics. Infantry, cavalry, or biker only. Add 1 to the model's strength characteristic. In addition, roll 1d6 each time this model would lose a wound. On a 5-up, that wound is not lost. Wow. 5-up, Feel No Pain. We're getting Disgusting and Resilient back for your infantry, cavalry, and bikers. It's good. It's good. On top of the +1 strength. Yeah, it's not bad. Next, Friends on Injector. Infantry, cavalry, biker, or monster only. You can reroll advance and charge rolls made for this model's unit. In addition, add 1 to this model's attack characteristic during any turn in which it's made a charge move, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention. This is one of the best ones. Absolutely, hands down, one of the best ones. So re-rolling advance and charge rolls, right? And then what you do is you pair this one with Fleet of Foot, or Swift and Agile, Swift and Agile. So now you're getting +1 to your advance, +1 to your charge, and you're able to re-roll them. And if you've got an ability that lets you advance and charge, this really stacks up. And you're getting the extra attack, right? So one of the things that I was running was a Raven Guard successor captain with the Warlord trait that allowed units to advance and charge. Right? You put Swift and Agile on, and now he's getting +1 to move, +1 to advance, +1 to charge. It's just 3 inches to his range already increased. Now he can re-roll those advances so that the average is higher, and you can re-roll the charge, so you're saving your command points. It's great. All right, next category of relics is the Antiquity relics, and this is for heroic or legendary characters, right? Those are those upper, more leveled up characters that can take these. The thing with these, though, is that you have to increase the Crusade points by 2, because you would increase the Crusade points of your unit by 1 for taking the battle honor of getting a relic. But if you take an Antiquity relic, you have to increase it by an additional 1. So this will cost you 2 Crusade points, or net you 2 Crusade points, which in some matchups, I don't know, I found when you have a ton of Crusade points, if the things that you're invested in aren't really paying off, you're really just giving your opponent a bunch of free command points, and it can be tough. So let's go through them. The first one is Xenotech Digital Lasers. It's a weapon. It's Xenotech Digital Lasers, 12-inch range, pistol 1. If this weapon hits, the target suffers D3 mortal wounds. Okay, so just a 12-inch targeted smite. It's not bad. On a 3-up or a 2-up, depending on what character you put this on. It could be good. It's not bad. The next one is the Blackstone Shard Amulet. This model's unit can never be targeted or affected by psychic powers in any way, nor can it attempt to manifest any psychic powers or perform any psychic actions. This can be devastating if you put it on the right character and then they're just not affected by any of your opponent's abilities. I like it. The only bad thing is it's a double-edged sword, right? So you're not getting hit by any of the mortal wounds, but you also can't buff up that character. And depending on which faction you're playing, some of the psychic powers can be critical. But yeah, it's not bad. Archaeotech Nanomed, infantry only. The first time this model is destroyed, keep it to one side. At the end of the current phase, roll a d6. On a 2-up, set this model back up again as close as possible to its previous position with d3 moves remaining. Yeah, this is outstanding. This is probably the best one. Just automatically bringing your character back on a 2-up with d3 wounds remaining can be game changing, especially because it's at the end of the phase, so it's not giving your opponent another chance. Like, so let's say it happens in the fight phase, right? Your opponent doesn't get a chance to kill him once he stands back up, right? It's gonna be at the end of the phase, and then you're gonna have your turn. And let me see, it has no restriction on, you can put them back up in engagement range as close as possible to its previous position. So you'd almost have to put him back in engagement range. That's not as good, because then, assuming that it was your opponent's charge phase when he killed him, now he's going to be in engagement, already in close combat on your turn. You'll have to have him fall back, or, your opponent will probably get to strike first. Yeah, it depends. But it's still not bad. Infantry only. Next one, Dark Age Displacer Belt. Infantry only. Instead of making a normal move or falling back in your movement phase, this model's unit can be removed from the battlefield and then set back up on the battlefield anywhere that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. So just instant teleporting around the battlefield. All right, move over. Archaeotech Nanomed. Dark Age Displacer Belt. This is the winner right here. Just being able to teleport across the battlefield. Super important, especially in how much the movement phase matters in these games. This is it by itself game winning, right? Just going over and catching a key objective, or putting out a buff in a certain area that you needed to, or threatening a backfield asset. If you got this and then you get a plus to charge, or you're getting reliable charges. So next is legendary relics. Any legendary character model, so that's the final level, right? They have 51 plus experience points. So any legendary character model can be given a legendary relic. In addition, in order to give a model a legendary relic, you must also pay 1 requisition point. If you do not have enough requisition points, you cannot give that model a legendary relic. Add 1 and an additional 2 to that unit's crusade point. So it's costing you 2 requisition points, right? So the 1 to give them the relic, and then an additional 1 for giving them a legendary relic. And then it's costing you 3 crusade points. So these should be top tier. I'll be honest, I've never had a character level up to 51 and be able to get one of these relics. So I've never really played with them in game. So let's see what they can do. Number 1, Vortex Grenade. This model gains the following weapon. Vortex Grenade, 6 inches, grenade 1. 1 use only. If this weapon hits, the target suffers 3d3 mortal wounds, and you roll 1d6 for every other unit within 6 inches of the target unit. Roll before any destroyed models are removed. On a 4-up, the unit being rolled for suffers d3 mortal wounds as well. It's not bad. It's reliable mortal wounds, I guess. It's just, here's the problems with it, right? You had 6-inch range, so you gotta be super close. And you have to roll a d6 for every other unit within 6 inches of the target unit. That includes you. It doesn't say enemy units. It says every other unit within 6 inches of the target unit. So by definition, you had to be within 6 inches to use this. Now you're also on a 4-up suffering D3 mortal wounds, as along with anything else. Like this, you're putting this on a character. So unless this character is just sua sponte, doing whatever they want, there probably was some support. And now you're just it's a lot of mortal wounds. It could be devastating in the right spot, but it just seems like such a kamikaze move. Not for a legendary relic, not what I think would be good. Let's see the next one. Null Field Disruptor. Invulnerable saves cannot be made against attacks made with this model's melee weapons. Alright, this is a good one. Yeah, this is good. You're just turning off invulns. That's great. Yeah, see, this is what I was expecting from Legendary Relic. Right, just turning off of invulns. It's awesome. Alright, that takes us out of the battle honors. The next thing we're going to talk about is out of action tests. So every time a unit is destroyed at the end of a battle, you have to make an out of action test. So basically you like line up your units, the ones that were destroyed, and you roll 1 dice for each one. On a roll of a 1, the test is failed and the unit suffers 1. Either they can gain 1 battle scar, or you can choose to give them a devastating blow, which is lose D6 experience points, and they can't get any experience from the battle. Yeah, so I'll tell you in my games what we did is we got rid of devastating blow just altogether, and we just went straight with battle scars. Battle scars are more interesting. It's losing experience just feels bad. You put all this time and effort, and you want to level up your guys. You want to see them grow and expand, and so just losing experience it wasn't attractive to us. So we pretty much just went straight with the battle scars. And then you go into the battle scar tables, very much like the battle traits tables. You have 1 for each different type of unit. So we'll go straight into character units. And it's worth noting that we modified this table because some of these battle scars are just so bad that the unit will not function. And you're forced to get rid of to spend the requisition to heal the battle scar. And it's just not what we wanted in our games. You want them to have battle scars, and some of these are really good, and I'll point them out when we get to them. But some of them were like very, very fluffy, very narrative. It built out the stories, and some of them are just so bad that we had to make some changes. And I'll read through the original list, and then I'll pull up my version that we tweaked it, and I'll read the tweaks. And that's also going to be available on the document. So if anybody wants to use that instead, feel free to make whatever ones you want. Come up with what you want. All right. So the first one for character units. Number 1, lost leg. Subtract 1 from this unit's move characteristic. In addition, subtract 1 from advanced and charge rolls made for this unit. I actually had lost leg on a swift and agile character, so they pretty much just balanced each other out. Yeah, it's not bad. It's fluffy, I think maybe crippled leg would have been a better name for it. I don't know if you've lost your leg if you're really out there. I guess he would have a bionic leg. Maybe if you're a Tyranid, you got tons of legs. You got legs to spare. This makes more sense. But all right, next is blind in 1 eye. You must reroll hit rolls of 6 when resolving attacks made by character models in this unit. This is a great one. A big fan. I had this on he was my company champion, and he was a super killy character, and charging him in, even though he's hitting on 2s, having the have to reroll your 6s, and the number of 6s I rerolled into 1s, and then you can't reroll a reroll, so you're just kind of stuck there. It made it great. It made it where some things that he definitely should have killed survived, and it made for some funny moments in our games, and I really appreciated it. Number 3, deep scars. This unit cannot perform any actions or psychic actions, and it cannot make heroic interventions. This one hurts. It's good though. It's still playable, right? You usually don't want your heroes doing actions anyways, unless he's a psyker, and he's one of the only ones that can't do psychic actions. Not making heroic interventions is a big deal. But next, chest wound. Reduce the wounds characteristic of your character model by 1. All right, yeah, -1 wound. It's good. It's fluffy, whatever. Number 5, Deep Concussion. You cannot use any stratagems to affect this unit, nor can you use the command reroll stratagem to affect any dice rolls made for it. I like this one. It just kind of makes it so it really tones down the efficiency on your character. It hurts, but it's still playable. It's not bad. Number 6, Loss of Reputation. If this unit has any aura abilities in its datasheet, the range of those aura abilities is reduced by 3 inches. If this reduces the range of an aura ability to 0 or less, then the unit loses that aura ability while it has its battle scar. And if this unit has no aura abilities on its datasheet, then it is unaffected by the aura abilities of any friendly units. This one is the one that's super punishing, especially if you have a support character. You know, when they drop down their auras to 3 inches, like that is not very far. Or if they're unaffected by the auras of friendly units. Yeah, it's a tough one. I think it might have been one that we modified. I'll check when I pull the other table up. Alright, next we have Vehicle Battle Scars. Number 1, Edge and Fault. Subtract 2 from this unit's move characteristic. In addition, subtract 1 from advance and charge rolls made for this unit. I like it. It's fluffy. You know, the engines are damaged, so you're going to move less. It's good. It's really tough when you're in your bottom bracket and you're -2 to move, and you have a 3-inch move characteristic, so now you're moving 1 inch. You know, it's really devastating there. Number 2, Targeter's Cracked. You must reroll hit rolls of 6 when resolving attacks made by a vehicle model in this unit. Like I said, I like the rerolling 6s. I think it's not overly punishing. It's not like a -1 to hit. So, you know, if you're hitting on 2s or 3s, rerolling your 6s, you're still getting a decent amount of hits. Number 3, Weakened Armor. Each time this unit is hit by a weapon with a strength characteristic of 8 or more, the unit suffers 1 mortal wound in addition to any normal damage. Yeah, I actually really like this one. I think it's very flavorful. You know, he's suffering a mortal wound from, you know, meltas or las cannons just because the armor is weakened. I like it. Number 4, Weak Weapon Damaged. Select 1 weapon equipped by a vehicle model in this unit. Subtract 1 from hit and wound rolls when resolving attacks with that weapon. It's not great. You're obviously always going to pick the little pintle mounted whatever weapons. You know, most vehicles, they have a ton of weapons to shoot. And so the amount of times this really has any impact on the game, I'd really look at swapping this one out. Or making them roll for, you know, which weapon is going to be the one that's affected by this. Number 5, Angered Machine Spirit. You cannot use any stratagems to affect this unit, nor can you use the command reroll stratagem to affect any dice rolls made for it. I like this one. It's good. It makes, you know, kind of narrative sense. The Machine Spirit's not responding to your commands. Number 6, Vox Comms Destroyed. This unit is unaffected by the aura ability of any friendly units. It doesn't really matter so much now with the core keywords coming in. It will matter for some, but this is another one that I would consider just getting rid of just because of the little impact that it has on the game. Alright, Monster Units. Number 1, Crippling Injury. You know, same as the vehicle, -2 to move, -1 advance and charge. Number 2, Crippled Limb. You must reroll hit rolls of 6. Yep. Again, same. Number 3, Critical Wound. Each time this unit is hit by a weapon with a strength characteristic of 8 or more, this unit suffers a mortal wound. You know, same as the vehicle. Number 4, Tissue Damage. Subtract 1 from the attack's characteristics of 1 monster model in this unit. Yeah, I like it. You know, -1 attack is punishing. Number 5, Fractured Skull. You cannot use any stratagems to affect this unit, nor can you use the command reroll stratagem to affect any dice rolls made for it. Yeah, this is one of those blanket ones that come across. Number 6, Enraged and Reasoning. If this unit has any aura ability, so this is the same as Loss of Reputation from the character. You know, lose 3 inches to their auras. You know, outright lose their aura if they go 0 inches, and not affected by the auras of other characters. All right, now any other unit. Number 1, Walking Wounded. Subtract 1 from this unit's move characteristic. In addition, subtract 1 from advance and charge rolls made for this unit. Yeah, it's good. Number 2, Fatigue. This unit cannot control objective markers. When determining which player controls an objective marker, ignore all models in this unit. This is too punishing. You get this on some of your infantry, some of your troops choices, and they just, not only are they losing objective secure, they cannot control objective markers. You just ignore them. It's worse than negating objective secured. It's like they're not even there. This is definitely one that we got rid of, because, you know, every time you got this, you got rid of it, right? Either it fell on a unit that didn't matter, right? It was a unit that was never going to be near an objective, or you wouldn't want it to be on an objective, or it was on units that you needed them to be on objectives, and it wasn't having the impact on the games that we were looking for. Number 3, Battle Weary. This unit cannot perform any actions or psychic actions, and it cannot gain more than 1 experience point at the end of a battle for any reason. This one sucks, specifically for gaining only 1 experience point at the end of a battle. It's too punishing there. You need to play 50 games to get these guys to max level. It's too much. Yeah. Shell Shock, number 4. Subtract 1 from this unit's leadership characteristic. In addition, subtract 1 from combat attrition tests taken for this unit. Yeah, Shell Shock, -1 leadership, -1 to combat attrition. It can be brutal depending on the type of unit, especially big units. Always losing units on 1s and 2s for combat attrition, and if you're at half strength, losing it on 1, 2s, and 3s. Yeah, it can be not fun. Number 5, Disgraced. You cannot use any stratagems to affect this unit, nor can you use the command reroll stratagem to affect any dice rolls made for it. Yep, this is the generic one we see across all of them. And then number 6, Mark of Shame. This unit is unaffected by the aura abilities of any friendly units. So some of those are pretty punishing more so to other units. Like Mark of Shame is definitely a bigger deal for any other unit category, because typically vehicles not gonna benefit because they're not gonna be core. Characters are the ones that give out the auras, so themselves not being able to actually characters don't even have the not getting auras. Yeah, it just reduces their aura ability. Yep. So Mark of Shame was another one that we took a hard look at, and let me actually pull up the table that we used. All right, so in our table, character battle scars, we switched out deep scars, the inability to do actions, for crippling blow, reduce the attack characteristic of character models in this unit by 1 to a minimum of 1. I like that one. And then we removed the deep concussions, where you couldn't use stratagems, and we put damaged equipment, and it reduced the range of rapid fire assault and heavy weapons by 6 inches and pistol grenade weapons by 3 inches. So a little less punishing and more likely. And so the reason we did this was to incentivize people to keep their battle scars, and so we'd have more of a diverse fighting force, instead of just, hey, this is too punishing, I'm just going to get rid of it and use my requisition points to get rid of it. That was kind of boring. All right, for the vehicles, we changed weapon damaged, because we, like I said, it didn't really do much, to damaged rangefinder, and again, it was reducing the range by 6 inches for all their weapons. Yeah, I like to see. For the monsters, we changed out Fractured Skull, where you can't use any stratagems, and we put Enduring Wound, again reducing the wounds characteristic by 1. I think that was appropriate. Next we had, for the other unit battle scars, here's where we made the most changes. So we removed Fatigued, where they can't control objectives, and instead we changed it to Loss of Discipline. You must reroll hit rolls of 6 made for this unit. Like I said, I really like the rerolling 6 mechanic. I think it's punishing, but not too punishing, where you could still keep it. That's not going to be bad. Where it's going to be bad is when you're shooting Overwatch, then it's terrible. So if you're Tau, you probably don't want to keep this. Next we got rid of Battle Weary, where they can't do any actions, and replaced it with Damaged Equipment, again reducing the range of weapons by 6 inches. Pistol and grenade weapons only by 3. And then number 5, we got rid of Disgraced, where you couldn't use the stratagems, and instead we switched it for Intimidated. You must reroll successful charge rolls made for this unit. This was pretty punishing, especially on a fighting unit. This is one I would look at changing again, just because if it's on a fighting unit that you need to get in close combat, you're going to get rid of it because it's too punishing. And if it's on any other unit, you probably don't want them to be in close combat, and it's probably not going to matter. There will be those edge cases where you need to get a troops unit in range of an objective, and you're going to charge them in. They're not really a threat to what they're charging, but they're going to survive and keep that objective. and then they're going to be too intimidated to fail the charge, and that'll make for a good story. But those are just some suggestions. It's what we chose to do. And another thing to note on battle scars is that when a unit has a battle scar, you subtract 1 from its total crusade points to account for its decrease in efficiency. So it's another way where sometimes you'll have really experienced armies, and I've played some games where they got tons of battle honors, but they also got tons of battle scars, and you end up kind of balancing out your crusade points and not getting very much of that difference in crusade points. The next thing, selecting Crusade army. Yeah, Crusade blessings. That's the thing we already mentioned. So the actual giving of half of the difference rounded up of command points is called the Crusade blessing. It's supposed to represent higher commands, giving more resources to a unit that they know is in a tough fight. And that's it for what I want to talk about on the Crusade rules. Overall, I'm a big fan of Crusade. I think it's a very balanced way to play narrative where it's still competitive, but you're not min-maxing, your army and trying to be as cutthroat as you would in, match play kind of tournament setting. Next, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we did in my Crusade campaign to incentivize, getting more games in, right? So the whole purpose of why we decided to start a narrative campaign was to get more games through our gaming group. And so I set out a list of rules. Basically, it incentivized not just winning games, but just playing games. And one of the things that helped out was, and you don't have to do a prize or anything like that, but what I did as the game organizer, as a campaign organizer, was I have a 3D printer, and I put it out there. I was like, hey, look, the person that wins this campaign is going to win 6 40mm objective markers of their choice. I'll print them out, I'll paint them up, and I'll send them to you as a reward for winning. And the way that we incentivized playing was I used a system of campaign points. And essentially campaign points were the sum of all of your crusade points, your negative crusade points. So this actually incentivized keeping your battle scars. So you would get 1 campaign point for each crusade point you got, but you would also add up the number of battle scars, and we just call that like negative crusade points, and then you would multiply by 2. So battle scars are worth 2 campaign points, and then you would add that to your total. Any requisition, unspent requisition, and any requisition you spent to upgrade your supply limit from 50 up to 100. Those also counted. And I think we even went as far as 150, so that you could have a 3,000 point force and just to have extra models in your order of battle if you wanted to. And really what you're seeing is in a lot of the Crusade missions, when you win, you'll get some, extra requisition points, or extra mark for greatness, or an extra battle honor, etc. And those are all increasing your Crusade points. So there is an incentive to win. But if you just play more games, right? If a person played 5 games, won all 5 games, and got all the rewards, a person who played 15 games is still going to have a higher campaign total than them. And so really the only way to reliably be a winner was to get more games. And that's just the way we incentivize it. Do what works for your gaming group. I think Crusade is super, super low threat for the campaign organizer. It was very easy. It was really as much work as I wanted to put into it. You'll see on the documents I provided, we put a tracker, we put a little bit of backstory, we put some rules documents on there, and then some people even got inspired and wrote little short stories during, or before and after games. It was a good time. The final thing on Crusade that we didn't talk about, we should go over that, is agendas. And so agendas, and this is what I was talking about in the beginning when I was talking about some of the weird fun scenarios you get into is agendas are like secondary objectives, but in Crusade, instead of getting victory points, they're going to give you experience points. And they have, different classes, just like the match play secondary objectives. And for a combat patrol game, you pick one agenda for, the next level, between 501 to 1,000 points. You'd pick 2 agendas, and then I think you pick 3 for the biggest size game. But here, we'll go through all the agendas. First ones are Purge the Enemy is the category. And first one is Assassins. Keep an Assassin's tally for each unit from your army. Add 1 to the unit's Assassin tally each time it destroys an enemy character unit. Each unit gains 2 experience points for every mark on their Assassin's tally. So if an army's got a bunch of characters, you're playing like I know I had a Tempest of Science army that gave up a ton of experience to Assassins because I had 2 Tempestive Prime, a Primaris Psyker, a Priest, a Commissar. It's already 5. That's 10 possible experience on the table. The next one is Priority Target. Keep a priority target tally for each unit in your army. Add 1 of the unit's priority target tally each time it destroys an enemy vehicle or monster unit. Each unit gains 2 experience points for every rank on its priority target tally. Same thing. If your enemy's got a bunch of vehicles or monsters, this is a good one to take. Next, Titan Hunter. 4 experience points for killing a Titanic unit. So if you're playing against knights, every knight you kill, you're going to get 4 experience points. It's good. Next, Kingslayer. You get 3 experience points if you kill the enemy's warlord. Yeah, it's not the best. You'd almost get more for assassins. So I would probably just pick assassins over this. It just depends, situational. Really, what you're trying to maximize the amount of experience your characters are going to get, or your models are going to get, so that they can level up quickly. And I think in Purge the Enemy, the ones that I like the most are assassins and priority target. Just depending on the composition of the enemy force. Next, we have No Mercy, No Respite. It's another category. It's First Strike. Keep a First Strike tally for each unit in your army. Add 1 to this unit's First Strike tally each time it destroys an enemy unit in the first battle round. Each unit from your army gains a number of experience points equals to their First Strike tally. This is just bad. It's bad, especially the way the games are played now, where you're kind of staying back. First turn, if you're playing it right and there's a lot of terrain on the board, you should be pretty well hidden first turn. So getting 1 experience for killing 1 unit and it's only in the first battle round. It's not great. Next, Cult of Hordes. Keep a Cult of Hordes tally for each unit from your army. Add 1 of the unit's Cult of Hordes tally each time it destroys 6 or more models in the same phase. Each unit gains a number of experience points equal to their Cult of Hordes. So this could be good if it was destroyed 6 or more models. And then for every 6 models you destroyed, you put a mark on the tally. But it's specifically for the phase. It's just not good. Even if you got, what's got enough attacks to consistently kill 6 things each phase, and then you get 1 experience points for it. And then your enemy's got to have tons of little hordes. It's just not. It's not good. Number 2, or the next one is Reaper. The unit in your army that has the highest combat tally of enemy units destroyed during the battle earns 2 experience points. If 2 or more units are tied, you choose which unit achieves this agenda. Yeah, so Reaper is one that I've taken a lot. Just when you don't have a good option, sometimes you just take Reaper, and you know that as long as something kills something in your opponent's army, right, that at least that unit will get 2 experience points extra. So it's not bad. It's one of those that you take just because you got no better options. Next, Battlefield Supremacy. Sentinel. At the start of your so Battlefield Supremacy is the new category. Sentinel. At the start of your first command phase, select 1 objective marker that is on the battlefield and 1 unit from your army. That unit gains 4 experience points after the battle if at the end of the battle it is in range of that objective marker and you control that objective marker. So this can be good. It really just depends on the matchup and the mission you're playing. I've picked this for when I was playing Grey Knights, and I would put my Las Cannon missile launcher Dreadnought in my backfield with Astral Aim. You know that guy's not going anywhere. He's a tough unit. He's probably behind some obscuring terrain, just sitting on an objective and just shooting all game. Relatively safe. I've put it on him, and sometimes you get the extra experience points. It's good because 4 experience points, and then you give them a mark for greatness. You're leveling up after the first mission. After your first game with them, you're leveling them up. So, experience is at a premium. So anywhere you can get it, it's good. All right, next one is Breakthrough. At the end of the battle, select up to 3 units from your army, excluding aircraft, that are wholly within 6 inches of your opponent's battlefield edge. Each of these units earns 2 experience points. It's not bad. It's not great. So where Breakthrough is going to be good is if you've tabled your opponent and your units literally have nothing else they need to be doing to win the game, and you can just have them run to the end of your opponent's battlefield edge. So it's not the best. Maybe if it was 3 experience points, I'd risk it. The 2 experience points, there's just other ways to get it. Yeah. Next one, Survivor. At the start of your first command phase, select 1 unit from your army. That unit gains 2 experience points after the battle if it is not destroyed at the end of the battle, and an additional 2 experience points if it is not below half strength. Units that only have only a single model instead of units that have only a single model instead gain these bonus experience points if at the end of the battle the number of wounds that model has remaining is at least half their wounds characteristic. This is one I've taken a couple of times. You got a tough unit that's going to be sitting in your backfield. 4 experience points is really good, and as long as you can keep them relatively safe, it's a good one. Next, Shadow Operations. This is the category. Secure the area. Keep a secure the area tally for each unit from your army. Add 1 to the unit secure the area tally for each time it successfully completes the following action. Secure the area. Action. 1 infantry unit from your army, excluding characters, can start to perform this action at the end of your movement phase if it is within 6 inches of the center of the battlefield. The action is completed at the end of your turn. Each unit gains a number of experience points equal to their secure the area tally. Not great. You'll see that a lot of the action-based ones, they're just not worth it. So you're getting a unit, unless you have a ton of throwaway units. You're playing like Genestealer Colts or maybe Guard. You're just giving up that unit and having them do an action to gain 1 experience point. Yeah, it could be worth it. The fact that it's you can't have like 3 or 4 of your units do this per turn. It's just 1. You can't have a character do it. Yeah, I don't know. All right, next one. Search for Archaeotech. Keep a search for Archaeotech tally for each unit from your army. Add 1 of the units search for Archaeotech tally. Each time it successfully completes the following action. Search for Archaeotech action. 1 or more infantry units from your army that are wholly within your opponent's deployment zone can start to perform this action at the end of your movement phase. If the action is completed at the end of your turn, each unit gains 3 experience points if their search for Archaeotech tally is at least 2. It's tough. Getting 2 actions done in your opponent's deployment zone. So you probably have to deep strike them in there, or you've got something with a ton of movement, but then you're going to your opponent's deployment zone, probably for a reason. The 3 experience points is tempting, just the fact that it has to be done twice. If it was just once, I think it would be worth risking, especially because it towards the end game, if you're already kind of ahead, you could throw a unit out there. Yeah, I really wish this was just 1 tally instead of 2. You could even do just 1 tally and drop it down to 2 experience points instead of 3, and I think it would be more appealing. But yeah. Next, deploy Vox Relays. At the start of the first battle round, but before the first turn begins, select 1 infantry unit from your army. That unit can perform the following action. Deploy Vox Relays. 1 unit from your army can start to perform this action at the end of your movement phase if it is within range of an objective marker that has not already been Vox Relay deployed on it. This action is completed at the end of your turn. If this action is successfully completed, that objective marker is said to have a Vox Relay deployed on it. The Vox Relay is lost if your opponent controls the objective marker at the start of any phase. This unit gains 2 experience points for each objective marker on the battlefield that has 1 of your Vox Relays deployed on it at the end of the battle. So this one can be really good. There's a couple of key limitations, right? You have to pick which unit has the Vox Relays at the beginning of the game. So that can be tough. If they get killed, then you've already lost your ability to play the box relays. But like I said, a lot of the games here that I've played, the max you can get is 4 objectives. So you're really only getting relays on maybe 2 of them reliably. If the opponent's putting any type of a match, because you lose the relay when they control an objective. But four experience points is nothing to sneeze at. It can be good, and it just depends. Next, recover mission archives. Keep a recover mission archive tally for each unit from your army. Add 1 to the unit's recover mission archives tally each time it successfully completes the following action. Action, recover mission archives. 1 infantry unit, cavalry, or biker unit from your army can start to perform this action at the end of your movement phase. If it is not within range of the objective marker, if it is within range of an objective marker that has not already successfully been searched. This action is completed at the end of your next command phase, provided the unit performing it is still within range of the same objective marker. Roll 1d6 at the agenda achieved step of the game, so after the game is over. If the score is equal to or less than the combined total of your unit's recover mission archives tally, or if the combined tally equals the number of objective markers that were set up at the start of the battle, then 1 unit of your choosing successfully performed this action gains 6 experience points. Alright, so 6 experience points is very tempting. There's just a lot of terms and conditions, and you can do a lot of the work for this and maybe throw the game because you're trying to achieve this mission archives objective and still not get anything, right? You could just not roll correctly. Yeah, no, not a fan. Never taken it, probably never will. Alright, finally the last category is Warpcraft. And here we have probably one of the best ones is Witch Hunter. Keep a Witch Hunter tally for each unit from your army. For each unit from your army, add 1 to the unit's Witch Hunter tally each time it destroys an enemy Psyker unit. Add 3 instead if the destroyed unit is a Psyker character. Each unit gains a number of experience points equal to their Witch Hunter tally. So if you're playing Thousand Suns or Grey Knights or even some Tyranid lists, this is a really good agenda to take. You can get mad amounts of experience off of Witch Hunter. And if you pair Witch Hunter with Assassins, and they do stack, you're possibly getting 5 experience points for each character you kill, each psychic character you kill. That's really good. So I really like Witch Hunter. It's a really good agenda. And it just depends on the matchup, right? If your opponent doesn't have any Psychers, then it is what it is. But that game you play against your buddy who's playing Thousand Suns or Grey Knights, you're going to want to take Witch Hunter. Alright, next one is Lord of the Warp. Keep a Lord of the Warp tally for each unit from your army. Add 1 to a unit's Lord of the Warp tally each time it successfully manifests a psychic power, denies an enemy psychic power, or completes a psychic action. Reset a unit's Lord of the Warp tally to 0 if and when they suffer perils of the warp. The unit from your army that has the highest Lord of the Warp tally gains 2 experience points. In which case, if 2 or more units are tied, then you get to choose. So Lord of the Warp, very similar to Reaper, right? If you have a Psyker, they're gonna cast psychic powers. You're gonna pick the one that had the most, and give them 2 experience at the end of the game. I've taken this one when I was playing Grey Knights just because I didn't have a better option, and it's 2 experience points for typically the guy that has the most casts. Alright, finally, last one is Scribe Battle Plans. Keep a Scribe Battle Plans tally for each Psyker unit from your army. Add 1 of the unit's Scribe Battle Plans tally each time it successfully completes the following psychic actions. Scribe Battle Plans. Warp Charge 4. 1 Psyker character from your army can attempt to perform this psychic action in your psychic phase if it is within 18 inches of an enemy character unit. Each unit gains 5 experience points if their Scribe Battle Plans tally is at least 2. I have not taken this one ever. It seems appealing. It seems like there could be a way to get it. It's just having to use, you're typically taking a Psyker to have a purpose. And having to do this twice, if it was once, because the terms and conditions are tough too. You gotta be close, within 18 inches of enemy character unit. I guess that's not too far. I've never been in a situation where I thought this was a good one to take, but I could see it I could see it being okay. 5 experience points is a lot. So if you want to risk it, no harm, no foul. It feels bad when you take one of these riskier agendas and don't get it, and then you get 0 experience points when you could have taken Lord of the Warp or Reaper and gotten that safe 2 experience. But I mean, no guts, no glory, right? So that is it for agendas, and that is pretty much it for what I want to talk about on Crusade. Like I said, Crusade's a super fun way to play. It allows you to build a narrative around your games and keep it going, and it makes it super easy as the campaign manager to keep people interested in the game. And a lot of times what happens is, I've experienced this, you're running a campaign, you're the one that's the most invested in it, you're the one putting the most work into it, and then people drop off, people lose interest, and it kind of sucks to have put so much work and effort into something and then have it not come to fruition. Whereas with this Crusade game, it allows you to kind of wax and wane, right? Like, I've had players that been really into it, gotten consistent games every week, and then they kind of drop off for a couple of weeks, because life happens, they get busy with work, they go on a trip, whatever the case might be, and then they come back into it, and hey, I still got my Crusade roster, I still got my my force that's kind of growing, and they just pick up where they left off. It's not a campaign where you need to consistently meet every week to advance that same storyline. You're kind of building out these little mini storylines as you go. I had like a series of 3 or 4 games with the same guy, and that was kind of like our little story arc that we built through there. And the story really is just your force as it grows. So it's a really fun way to play. I highly recommend it. I'll have all the documents that I linked up that we kind of used for our Crusade campaign in the link in the description. I'd also like to mention that we have a Amazon affiliates link in the description. So if you want to buy anything off of Amazon, click that link. And as long as you I think you have to keep it in the same window and it's within 24 hours, we get a portion of that. That's going to help support the channel. It's going to show us that there's some interest and that we want to keep making these. And if there's any videos or anything that you guys are interested in seeing, please let us know. Join the Discord. The Discord's in the link below. And just let me know what you guys want to hear. This is all still very new, and we're going to keep going with it as long as there's interest. So thanks for joining us for this episode of the Army Nerd, and we hope to see you next time.
Thanks, this is Army Nerd. We are RTB time now.